Ongoing Ed O'Bannon lawsuit with its origins in a video game, but more broadly applied to the concept of whether college athletes should be compensated for their name, image, and likeness, took another turn yesterday. A federal appeals court upheld an earlier ruling that the NCAA is not above antitrust laws, but it disagreed with the portion of the prior ruling that would have enabled schools to pay players $5,000 in addition to the full cost of attendance, further stating that amateurism does serve a significant purpose for the NCAA. Well, to further help us sort this out, we are joined now on the phone by Larry DiNardo. He is a partner at Jones Day in Chicago, specializing in employment law. He has successfully argued a case in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. And yes, he is Jerry's brother. So, Larry, before we get to the substance of this case, it's nice to have a DiNardo with some substance on the air with us.
Well, thanks, David. It's very nice of you.
He might disagree with that notion. It seems to me there are several issues at play here. Let's talk first about the antitrust part of it. And when the NCAA is said to be not above antitrust exemption, when the court says that the antitrust rules do apply, what does that mean tangibly for the NCAA?
So, clearly, the argument by the NCAA that it was not engaged or is not engaged in a commercial activity, and that some earlier writings of other courts indicated that perhaps intercollegiate athletics was beyond the antitrust laws. Clearly, the court rejected that notion. So the Sherman Act, and I suspect the other antitrust laws, are going to be applied going forward to intercollegiate athletics, certainly to big-time intercollegiate athletics.
The other significant portion of this decision was the rejection of this notion earlier from Claudia Wilken of the $5,000 that would be set aside for name, image, and likeness in addition to full cost of attendance. What was the rationale there in this decision?
So here, the court said that these regulations are not either per se unlawful, as the plaintiffs contended, nor are they per se beyond the reach of the antitrust laws. So you have to balance, is what the court said. You have to use what the antitrust lawyers would call a rule of reason and see if the restraint, if you will, that is, in this case, the prohibition beyond paying the full cost of attendance, is that a reasonable way to further the legitimate objectives of the NCAA? Is stopping at full cost of attendance, as the NCAA wants to do? Is that an appropriate but limited restraint? And the court said yes, and doing more than that. That's going beyond what's necessary to accommodate the antitrust laws and the NCAA's legitimate interest in maintaining amateur athletics.
So what's next in this case, Larry?
Both sides can, if they choose, within the next couple of weeks, ask that a broader group of judges on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals review the decision. 10 or 12 judges would join the original 3. They would argue, the case would be argued again in front of this larger group, and they would decide if those 3 judges, in this case 2 judges versus 1 judge, were correct. I wouldn't be surprised if that request is not made by one or both sides, that the larger group hear the case. It's not a requirement before you go to the Supreme Court. So the other possibility is both sides say, we don't need a broader review of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Let's ask the United States Supreme Court to review this. In that case, there's 90 days to make that decision.
Larry, this is not an isolated case, as you're well aware. There are several cases that are talking about amateurism in college athletics at various forms going through the court system right now. We saw the ruling earlier this summer, the National Labor Relations Board on the Northwestern case. Is there any kind of a common thread you're seeing in these rulings?
I definitely believe there's a couple of themes that are emerging, and it's pretty clear to me. So, and I think those themes are America loves amateur athletics at a high level. At the same time, these rulings are indicating a desire to make certain that these student athletes are in fact protected as much as possible, consistent with amateurism. So the institutions and the conferences and the NCAA, they need to take that into account.
Larry DiNardo from Jones Day. Thanks a lot, Larry. Great to talk to you.
Thanks, Dave. Good talking with you. Bye now.